Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and I'm joined, as usual, by Mike Jones. That's not Mike Jones. This is Mike Jones. Hello, Mike.
Yes, he's pointing at Keith Heck. Don't say that. I'm not that guy. I'm. When I look in the mirror now, I think I look older all the time. But
No.
then I look at a picture of Keith Heck and I go, boy, okay.
There's been a lot of news happening recently, and Mike and I have been. I'm going to try not to exaggerate anything. Not like
Yes, we've been on the tip of the spear.
We definitely have, and we've been on the cutting edge and the bleeding edge of a lot of news recently. But we're being hailed as minor heroes. Minor heroes, yes, another joke. Everywhere we go, and some people hate us that have never met us. I hate those guys. They're always lying, nothing but lies all the time. Have you ever watched the show? No, I would never watch such a show. Okay.
Yes, that's usually that's usually where that kind of criticism comes from.
They were joking about something the other day and quoted a friend of mine, and they quoted him wrong, like saying, it's always this way. Well, nobody says that kind of thing, and we joke about, those jokes aren't funny. Okay, well, that's one thing I've noticed from the other side of a couple of issues we talk about. They have no sense of humor. They have no sense of irony. They have no sense of irony. Thank God they have no sense of irony, because it's so easy to make fun of them. Go ahead, Mike. Very good point.
I have nothing. Yes, thank you.
Good, well said,
Thank
sir.
you. Yes.
So
that one's for the best of reel, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So everybody wants to know. Bill Meyer is his last day in Washington, D.C., and I talked to him this morning on the air, and the first thing he wanted to know was what's going on with the miners. And I'm assuming he doesn't mean high school students. He means miners that dig stuff out of the earth. And what's going on with them at the moment. These things, they come and they go. And at the moment, there are some tensions, but it seems as if they're sort of settling down to see what the other shoe is going to be. Is there another shoe? And at the moment, just so that you know what the news is, yes, Oath Keepers put out a general notice to people, we need your help. And yes, I don't know if it surprised them, but they got some answers. Maybe just a few more answers and a bit more strident than they had counted on. So it's nice to get a bunch of supplies and stuff to eat and other things that you might need. It might not be so nice to also receive a bunch of people who would like to come here and have a final showdown, the final showdown with BLM. I don't think that's what they meant. The final showdown. This is not the apocalypse.
Yeah. No, it isn't. And but you know what? I mean, in situations like this, you're always going to have some people. That's why vetting is necessary. And they did have a situation set up to vet all these people as they're coming in.
Well, I would bet that folks who put out this general nationwide invitation have learned a little bit of a lesson. Okay, that is good to get attention. Yay, got attention. That's great. It's also a good idea not to stir up a nest of people who just are dying and ready to die to have a confrontation with the federal government.
Yeah. Well, and in reality, we don't really know how much of a problem that they've had with that. There has been some complaining that some people are overhyping things here and making too big of a deal out of this on Facebook, and that's almost certainly true. But
look at what Channel 12 did. Why don't you tell them what Channel 12 did for those who didn't know?
Who didn't watch and listen, a lot of people watched our Tuesday show. There's over 750 of them so far.
Right. About 726 at the moment, just before.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Right. Yeah. And that's a lot for a typical show. It's only been 2 days. Right. I mean, we've had ones in the past that have moved pretty quickly. Oh, the Hunter Camello story. My gosh, it's over 5,000. And the same thing goes with Simon Hare. Sex texting.
Really? There's 5,000 on 100
Oh, yeah, buddy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we get our thousands, and this one moved very, very quickly, 726 in 2 days, and that's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, that is for this area here. We're starting to our average is starting to get higher just for shows that are say about a week old than it has been before. So the audience is growing for this. And you asked me a question, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was.
Oh, the question was, what is the meaning of this visual joke? No, the question is, why is Keith Heck so upset? No, what was the question?
What is the square of the hypotenuse? I have no idea. There you
The
go.
square of the hypotenuse of a right angle triangle is equal to the sums of the squares of the other two
Oh
sides.
my gosh! Hey, wow, we've opened a can we don't want to get into.
Oh yes,
yeah, now Dale is going to
covered.
Yeah, Dale is going to give us his impression of the Tin Man. I can see that he obviously has this down to a fine science.
Oil can.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, boy.
Right. 3.14159. It's easy as pie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And now on with the news.
on with the show. So this is Thursday, and Thursday we're almost back to the same kind of routine that we had before all of these other things were happening, and that is the big day of the week for county commissioners is Thursday. Now we keep watch on them, and we have now more subscribers that watch our show on an everyday basis than ever before. A lot of people want to know what's happening. If you want to know what's happening in politics in Josephine County, there's really just one place to go at the moment, at this instant. This will be gone in an instant after Mike is dead and gone. Then this will be
from now.
Yes, right. And I've got a target on my back. People have been telling this for years. So some of the things that the county commissioners are talking about, you'll notice in tonight's show that there are trends that are happening that are rather disturbing. For example, one of the things that we were promised by the county commissioners is we will not take votes in that little back room. We will discuss things, and we will bring them to the weekly business session where there's a larger audience and it's live on television, and they say the Pledge of Allegiance. But we will not take votes in the little back room. Now they're routinely taking votes. And the person that promised us that, number one, was Simon Hare, and now he's often suggesting that they take votes. And then, as Keith Heck pointed out today, he said, well, we'll take a vote here, and then we'll announce the vote at the weekly business session.
That's a great idea.
Right. We'll ratify the vote, keeping in mind fortify means large vote, large fort.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
And ratify means large rat. Right. So the idea is that they're going to take the vote here, where there's nobody except me and you through the camera. They're being watched, okay? And then you're watching this. So what they'd really prefer to do is talk about these things and vote on these things with no input from the public. You're not allowed to say a single word. I mean, I scratch my nose and Simon looks up.
Well, and here's the deal. This is, the reason why this is a bad idea is because it is the time when we as people can be the most effective in putting a stop to what they're trying to do.
We've seen that. Tell us when we've seen that, Mike. That's a real good example.
We've seen that on a number of occasions. They here recently, the one that stands out the most is when they were trying to put together the 7-county IGA that was going to, perhaps have authorities from other counties coming in and perhaps even coming into your home to audit your books.
Now, when he says perhaps, he's not making this up. This was going to be the next step. I asked Cheryl Walker, well, what's the next step after? Well, there's no next step. I don't know what you mean by next step, Mr. Matthews. You come to the meetings, next step, and nobody knows what. She admitted the next meeting. She knew exactly what it was I was saying. She's a liar.
Yeah. So the thing is that they had not read the documentation on this, and they didn't know the little idiosyncrasies, or when they went over them, their worldview didn't send up any red flags. And so when a bunch of people read over it and said, hey, you've got an issue with this, and that, and 5 people come up there, and then all of a sudden, if you're sitting on the other side of the dais there, you're probably thinking there's pitchforks popping up all over the place out in the audience. So
Big
they
bet
don't want
Sandy
that.
Casanelli walks into the room, buddy, and she knows her stuff. And she goes on page 17, it says this, and on page 31, it says this, and they're like,
Yeah.
Because you've heard, how many times have you in the audience?
Simon was dumbfounded.
It's the same old people with the same old arguments. No, we're actually, these same old people are reading the documents. Are you? Are they? No. It's obvious that, when it says in there, and here in Jackson County, they copied it directly from, it still says Jackson County in the document. They haven't read the stuff.
Yeah.
But they're ready to it.
So the point is, of course, that no, this is a really, really bad idea, and if they attempt to do this, a big stink should be made about it.
Well, we're telling you here, so that you know a little bit of it, they are responding more than I've ever seen them do. This guy's all upset about something. What was he upset about? He was upset in this photo because he had said the commissioners are not involved in any way in this levy. And I chuckled to myself so low, you've heard this before, that you haven't heard it before, and that my camera couldn't even pick it up, and it's right next to me. Well, if you're going to chortle, you'll have to leave this room. It's like, I didn't say you and what army.
Really? Yes, I've never heard that before.
Yes,
wow,
right.
Dale.
But that's why he's upset, because you just look crosswise. You have an expression on your face. Oh, really? That's against the rules now. So Ron Smith comes up at a meeting on Wednesday, and I don't agree with everything Ron says, but he says, we need to have you be sure that people understand that we adhere to certain values in America. You know what, Ron? They're not even following the First Amendment, sometimes not the Second Amendment. Look at Cheryl, definitely not the Fourth Amendment. Okay, but whatever. So Keith Hicks suggested at today's admin meeting that they all need to sign a Declaration of Rights. And Simon says, well, a Declaration of Rights? And they're not explaining what's in it or in any details at all.
You mean like the Bill of Rights?
I don't know, because they're not explaining anything. And they have this diagram. They're both like, the thing about the guy. And the thing about the guy, you're not saying anything. Well, it's Simon there saying, well, this wouldn't be then like no, it's not an ordinance. It's not even really a resolution. It's just a piece of paper. Okay. Then they asked legal counsel to get involved. What? He's got nothing else to do than to draw up a Declaration of Rights?
Yeah, but wait a minute. Was there any specificity about what these rights were?
No. One can only hope. There's a couple of things from the Bible, and maybe a couple of things from the Bill of Rights, and maybe something from the Declaration, but we don't know. We have no idea. And so they're going to come, well, children and sunshine have, okay, it's nice. But they're not, one of the declarations they should make is, we're going to explain to you what the heck it is that we're talking about. They don't do that. And they're certainly not going to give us any documentation.
Yeah. So in other words, you're not going to hear what it is that they were talking about until they talk about it at the weekly business session.
That's right.
When the sausage has already been made.
They've already decided what they're going to do. Here's a message for all those. I had a guy today, what we really need is we need 5 commissioners. No, listen, I know why you're saying we need 5 commissioners. You're saying we need 5 so they can get together 2 at a time and decide things ahead of time. Well, that's right. Then they'll look more unified. Really, the whole idea of having government that appears that it knows what it's doing is more important to you than hearing them hassle about details. Well, I don't like it when they argue with each other.
Oh, yes, that's so unsettling when somebody has a disagreement. No, disagreements. Has anybody read any of the stories about the when they were putting the Constitution together? Yeah. They were fighting like cats and dogs. Right. Some of these people hated one another, and they went at it like crazy. But the end result was something that had never been seen on the earth before. So it's
No, these guys want everybody to be cats and cats. And those sophisticated and not so nice among you know what I'm talking about. If they're all cats, that means they're all,
yes,
So
right.
you don't need to say it, Mike. He's dying to say it, but we won't allow him to on a family show. So this is the problem. What we need is we need less government that gets less things done, because efficiency is the enemy of democracy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, efficiency means that they're moving somewhere at a pretty good clip. Now, here's the thing. You always hear people saying, "Well, we want people to be bipartisan and work together to get things done." I don't want things getting done anymore. We've had a bunch of stuff get done in the past 10 years that is absolutely horrible. It's been devastating to our economy, devastating to the future possibilities of our children and grandchildren. My God, let's just shackle these people and put 1,000-pound weights around their ankles. I don't want them getting along. I want them fighting.
Before you accuse Mike and I of being in favor of chaos and that ilk,
I'm in favor of chaos,
and I'm part of the ilk. Before you say that, here's a couple of words that should send shivers down your spine, and not just because it's theoretical, because it's real. Eminent domain. Okay. And eminent domain is when the government can come in and say, you have some property here. Yes, it's been in my family for generations. Well, we need that property.
Government to be more efficient,
There you
go. Can write more of these really fast.
Well, it came up today. Eminent domain. It came up again today. Eminent domain, right? We want your property, and we're going to offer you what we think is a fair price. Hey, get lost. It's not for sale at any price. Then we're going to take it.
Nice.
Now, they know how sensitive you are and how sensitive all Americans and all citizens of the world should be. What's a person that's not a citizen of the world? I don't know. Maybe from elsewhere, right? Yes, whatever that means. So here's how insidious this is getting. They changed the words. They don't use the words eminent domain ever again. Really? Now they call it a resolution of necessity. I'm not making this up. Several times today. Well, our resolution of necessity. Oh, really?
Yes. In other words, they don't want to tip anybody off about the news before it becomes hard, cold fact.
Too late.
And nothing can be done about it.
Because we're there, and I'm equipped as a translator to take bureaucratese and turn it into English. Eminent domain, another way of saying that is resolution of necessity. You've got to be kidding me. You think you can get away with... Here's the plan. The city, Grants Pass City, wants the county to turn over carte blanche. Okay, it's French, so nobody will understand it. Come on, we're sophisticated enough to get this. They want the county to turn over carte blanche to exercise eminent domain, or resolution of necessity, so that they can affect county residents and take their property, because it's the convenience for the city.
Okay, but before the last time you spoke about eminent domain, you were talking about something happening over on Allen Creek.
Same thing.
It's the same area. It's the same one then.
Yep. But
okay.
They're not calling it eminent domain anymore. You feel better now, Mike?
I do. I feel better. I'm much less agitated. Yes.
Well, so what had happened
no
was
sedatives necessary.
The city government had said, it's your fault. I'm not kidding. It's on our video. You can see the video for yourself. See, we have everything backed up with video. That's why when we went to the Republican Central Committee meeting and they announced that they were going to oppose the levy, that's why, even though we didn't shoot any videotape, we're telling you the truth. We don't I want to show you video of everything so you can see for yourself, but on the occasions where we cannot show you the video, we're going to tell you the truth. And we've got better reputation now by far than the county commissioners do for telling the truth.
Well, okay. And listen, if we were lying about that, there was like 60 people in that room that can refute what we say. So,
Oh, but
you
there
know
are
what?
people in that room who will swear that what we told you the other night and what we're telling you now is complete lies. And Roy
Okay, but
Lindsay
then
is one of
there's
them.
yes, but here's the problem: is there's also 60 people in that room that can say whether or not what they say is
Yes.
true or not.
Yes.
The bottom line is what we told you about what happened there was true, and the
Yes.
people and what they said was true. So
That's correct. But there's going to be people, and you're going to occasionally hear from them. Like I went to the city council meeting last night, and I told them the news. There were a couple of city councilors that didn't know this news about this vote, didn't know. And after I was gone, long gone, like what happened with me and Harry Mackin, after I leave the room, Harry starts talking dirt about me. So I heard about it because people tell me. And so I called Harry. Harry, hello, this is Dale Matthews. And he was kind of surprised that I was being so chipper, I guess, Chip and Dale. And I said, well, I understand that I was holding the phone just like this. I understand that
yes.
after I left the room that you bravely had some things to say about me. And I thought you might want to say them to my face. And although we're just on the phone, you could tell me now, you could muster up the courage and tell me exactly what it was that you felt that you need to say after I left the room, Harry Mackin. Well, you lied about this. And I said, no, I quoted 2 and now 3 eyewitnesses, and here's what they said, and I quoted them. So your argument, Harry Mackin, is with them in the Republican Central Committee, not with me. We go by 2 sources. The Daily Courier often does not. We insist on 2 sources. You guys in the audience, I'm going to hang up on Harry. Goodbye, Harry. You guys in the audience only hear about half the stuff we do because we don't have 2 sources. And we're going to try not to tell you things, which is why we didn't go off half-cocked about this thing about the dog. Oh, you were going to tell us about Channel 12. That was the thing you were going to tell us.
Ah, yes, that's right.
What did
Yes.
Channel 12 do?
Channel 12, they just in their anxiousness to get a story up about the controversy here with the miners, they took a file picture that they had of Grants Pass Police's SWAT vehicle, and they posted that, and the story was, the law enforcement in Josephine County has responded. Well, of course, those 2 things put together means the snipers are behind the trees, and of course it wasn't true. And Dale and I found out about that by going to a meeting that the sheriff was at and asked him some questions. And
how many media people were there, Mike?
2.
And who and
Dale
what
and
organization did they represent? Exactly. So where's the other media?
Right. You know what? It's funny how and the Daily Courier was a day late and a dollar short on that whole story, really. But anyway, the sheriff was there and he told us what the skinny was, and promptly after that, Channel 12 was contacted by us and by the police chief both, and that picture came down and was replaced with another one. But it's too late. I had already taken a screenshot of my phone with that picture on it, and there are a number of actual other places on Facebook that had posted the story with that picture, and that picture is still up today.
So now you can understand what it is that we're talking about. It sounds so boring. What is we're talking about when we're talking about the minutes of meetings? And I can already see you're nodding off minutes of meetings. The minutes of meetings of county commissioners. What they do is what Channel 12 did. They alter history. They say something in a meeting, then they read it. Gee, I don't like that. That's what you said. Yeah, but I don't like it. Change it. Change to say I opposed it, or I was for it, or I spoke eloquently. Really? Yeah.
Wow.
They don't like it. And they're altering our history. So that's why when I get up and I say, that's not what you said last year, they get so angry. Well, you're bringing up stuff from the past. Because that's what you said. And we know what it was that you said. And I don't even need to bring out, I mean, it's not that I can't, but I don't even need to bring out the videotape anymore because that is what they said. And sometimes I don't think they remember. Sometimes they don't think that they do, but they know that we know because we're watching them for you. You know that motto of one of the stations, we're watching out for you?
Yes.
No, we're watching with you and we're seeing what they're doing. And if you have any interest in this, there are plenty of people who say, I hate it when they do that. Uh-huh. Well, we're just going to have to get used to the fact that you don't like it, but we're still going to do it.
Right.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So Dale, did anything
Yes,
exciting happen today at the meeting?
yes, many exciting things happen, Mike. I'm glad you asked that. Okay, so more in the area of changing language around so that it means something else other than what we know that it means. A fee that you're charged for violating the rules of planning, the planning rules. A violation fee is now been declared not to be punitive. That means if you violate the rules and they charge you a $500 fee for violating the rules, that's really not a reflection of how much work it took to do something about it. No, no, no. One would think that that was a punitive response, that we're going to punish you for violating the rules. Oh, no,
Sure.
that's not our purpose. Our purpose is just what? What could it possibly be? $500 fee
Yes.
for violating things. Well, that's not punitive. Sure, and work will make you free. Arbeit macht frei. Sure it is. Well, of course, because you've said it.
Well, you know what? Punitive is in the eye of the beholder in many cases.
It's
Uh,
obviously punitive. Come on, don't tell us this.
that's, well, no, but what I'm saying is that they can call it whatever they want, but when they slap me with a $500 thing, I've been punished.
So there was this person they were talking about today about cutting the fee in half because that person had talked with a certified, I guess certified, a planner type person, not from the county, but someone that's supposed to know about building things. And they said, you don't need to worry about this and this because that's taken care of. So, okay, they went ahead and built the thing. Then it turned out, well, that person was wrong.
Mm.
Uh-oh. And so the person who relied on that advice was going to get a $500 fine, which
Mm.
isn't punitive. It's
Yes.
it's cooperative. It's happy fee.
Right. It sounds like somebody has a case there because damages have taken place, and that sounds like a pretty sound case, if you're asking me.
I would agree.
Someone's negligence. This guy's negligence, an architect or an engineer or something, has caused this person to incur extra fees. So.
Well, as Simon put it, they got to pay the fee because otherwise people would just build stuff and then say, okay, I'm going to have to pay some kind of fee. I might as well go ahead and take my chances. I don't think that's what this person had in mind because apparently there's some proof that they actually relied on somebody that should know what they're talking about, but they didn't.
Right.
But the point is, they're trying to change the English language around. You see, eminent domain is a resolution of necessity, and a violation fee is not really a violation fee. It's not punitive at all. It's five other things, and
Yes.
90 jobs are created by putting a plaque on a rock. Okay, so
I feel better.
Yes, yes. So they're talking a bit. See, the parks director is leaving. That's Doreen Ferguson. And the fairgrounds interim director, it's hard to get all this right. She's leaving. And so there's a suggestion that maybe what county government can do. Now, you can already predict what the result's going to be, but we'll go through the little steps here. Well, what if we were to have one person that was like the Parks and Recreation Director? Think how much money county government could save. Why, yes. Oh, thank you for saving money. Well, we'll make that person in charge of parks and recreation, which is the fair, and all of the wonderful the wonderful soon to not be dilapidated buildings on the fairgrounds. And this will be the Parks and Recreation manager. We'll consolidate staff. We'll have just one person that's paid. And at first you think, well, this will result in a substantial savings. Do you ever watch this show? Why would you think that? I mean, that's the theory. What's really going to happen, Mike? Even before you know the story, you know the answer.
Okay, let me see here. This person's going to come in.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to bump their salary up substantially because of all the workload.
And what else is JJ? I always want to say JJ North because it reminds me of Dennis the Menace, Jay North.
Yes.
What does JJ Schofield?
Well, no, I mean the smorgasbord was here in town for a long, long time. JJ North.
Oh, JJ North. That's right. Also that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what is JJ Schofield going to come back with and suggest right away, Mike? Is it putting more people off the payroll or hiring more people onto the payroll? What do you think, Mike? What's the chances?
Oh, come on. Listen, if I had just dropped here from Mars, I wouldn't know the answer to this, but I know the answer to this. It's always add more. Never, ever have less employees. So if you are county government, see what's happening is, we just got pared down to the bone a couple of years ago. Well, how many people have you added since then? They've done nothing but add since then.
They were pared to the bone before Simon Hare came into office. He's been taking the credit for this for coming up on 6 years now. And the thing is, it was done before he was here. And the reason it was done was they were trying to get rid of a bunch of people, and ended up costing, I think I have this amount right, it ended up costing the county something like $1 million because of the lunkheaded way that they did it. And that came from out of our pockets, and things that could have gone to things like, I don't know, law enforcement did not go there because they were paid out in fines because we handled it so badly. So to say, whoa, look at what we did, it was probably the lowest point in Josephine County history. When you're fined something like $1 million, this is not, they're crowing about it now, which makes absolutely caw, caw. That's not an eagle, that's a crow. Okay. So
okay.
Yeah. So what's going to happen now is all those savings that were going to happen because they're going to say, and we won't need one director, which is highly paid. Well, but what they're saying now is what we're probably going to need is in addition to that director on high, we're probably also going to need a director. I'm not making this up, an assistant director in parks, and another director, and kind of like an assistant director over in with the fairgrounds with Fair.
Wow.
So that's 4 people right there with another ahead of them. Go ahead.
We just turned one person. We were going to take 2 positions and turn it into one.
Now it's 5.
Instead, let's turn it into 5.
Yes,
because that's better. You know, and they're each making $50,000 plus a year. That's the case
with all the other stuff added in, and don't forget PERS.
Yes,
this is our county government.
Yes,
this is why you watch the show, because you're gonna, if you might believe this snow job, even though the weather is turning cold in the morning and warm at night. Okay, even though the weather is turning warmer and warmer, this is a snow job.
Well.
So
here's the really sad thing about this is that these people think that this is the right thing to do. They convince themselves, it would be better if we did this, and they don't care about the cost to you. They just think it sounds better because it's more complicated. It's more there's more regulation involved. There's more money being paid out. There's more people in there. And so because you have more people, you have more supervisors, and more supervisors can make more money. And, come on, people.
The fairgrounds is so close to running in the red. In fact, it really is actually running in the red. And every once in a while they move ahead a little. Look, we're in the black. And then they're in the red, and that's not reported in the Courier. Look, we're in the black, and that's in the Courier. But then the red part they fall back to, that's not reported in the Courier.
Let's add 5 employees to that mix.
There you go. Some brand new. There's a brand new events coordinator they're talking about now. Now, do you think that your opinion is going to have an effect? This guy right here started questioning a little bit of this. Well,
Ah,
okay, good for him. I think part of
good.
it was he didn't understand it. Okay, but good. He's questioning things. That's great. It's not like we're always doing nothing but criticizing government. It wasn't always this way. We just happen to have clunk, 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 3 lemons this time. It has to happen eventually. And the only solution, you can't talk them out of it. Here, stop being so blustery. Stop being such a big, so impressed with yourself. You're the commissioner of the middle of nowhere, Oregon. Who cares about whether you feel I'm in danger? It's going to cost $1 million to refit this thing so bombs run. If you didn't lie all the time, you wouldn't feel so insecure, Keith. Right? Just don't do that. Don't call us liars. Anyway, don't get me started, Mike. You're always getting me started. So here's the thing. Simon Harris says to Keith Eck, he says, well, it looks to me as if you don't approve of this plan. Well, he says, I tell you what, I'm going to try to say it as close as I can to the original. This is going to happen, even if I have to wait for the next board. So you think you're going to convince him that this is not a good idea?
So Simon believes that he's going to be around, and these two are getting canned, or they're not going to run for re-election coming up in 2016. Then,
based on what he said, yes. Based on what he said, right? But the bigger point is, you think you're going to convince this guy? I mean, he was complaining in the hallway to me about this guy opposing him. Well, now if you told Simon, Simon, I like the idea of one manager, but I don't like the idea of one director. I don't like the idea of having a director and a whole new level of middle management. We've gotten rid of all of our middle managers. What a shame. Really? You think that's a shame that we gotten rid of middle managers? Well, let's put them back in there. Yeah. Let's replace 2 people, not with 1 person, but with 5 people. Now, you try to talk with Simon, explain to him why this is a lunkhead idea, Simon, and he's going to, well, then I'll just wait till all the citizens have been replaced, and then I'll get it done.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah. It used to be these guys back in the late 50s and early 60s, the BBC, they wouldn't allow rock and roll music. It was illegal because the government controlled the radio stations. Well, we've got a similar situation now, but that's for the end of this show. And so that's why this is a visual joke, because it's the same thing. It's the BCC. So they're changing the words of English language, like Cheryl Walker saying, hearsay is something that happened a long time ago. No, it's not. She figured if she did.
Yeah. Dale, yes, it is. Now, come on. I hope you're not waiting for a response from me, because the audio from you to me just dropped out entirely. I didn't hear anything of the last thing that you said. I'm very sorry. I see what you're pointing at.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
Nobody heard you. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's your own fault, audience, because those who will not hear or something like that. Anyway, so it just is the most dramatic point. Well, okay. Good night, everybody.
Yes.
So what he said at today's meeting is, and we've heard a little bit of this in social media, what he said at today's meeting is that there is a plan right now by the sheriff to mothball the jail.
This must be if we don't, hurry up and pass the levy so that they can fund the jail. They'll have to mothball the jail, and then, we'll just be on our own, and the criminals will just be creating hate and discontent all around us.
Just like ISIS. No, no. In this
Yes.
case, that sure sounded like what he was saying. That's another thing to affect the vote, and that the
Mm.
sheriff was fully in it. Now, I know there are some people think the sheriff is the leader of the. I'm still not convinced about that. Okay, I don't think so. No, in this case, here's what's actually happening, and we found the partial truth behind this story that you may have heard from. Oh, the jail is soon to be stopped. Yeah, as if we're going to have no jail at all, right? No, no, no,
Hmm.
no. Don't believe this kind of stuff. It's like believing that everybody's here to do an armed standoff with the BLM and they're here right now. And if you watch Channel 12, that you will actually believe that SWAT vehicles are there. No, 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 no. Stop it. What they're talking about is they've agreed among themselves, sort of, that they're not going to count any money they haven't actually received. Although
Hmm.
there's all this pressure that they're putting on each other. Well, can't we put that into a kind of an interim budget? And someone was saying today, yeah, I don't want to prepare 3 different budgets. Let's just do what we said that we were going to do, which was we'll only put into the budget. And they had their first little budget meeting today just to explain some of the details of what was coming up. And even, I don't think even the commissioners went. They were saying, oh, I'm not going to go to that. So, and we didn't go either because it's just the same thing that you've heard from. So it wasn't an open meeting where you can make any comments. And it's just a blah, 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 blah. Here's how the process works, which we all know by now. Okay. Most of us know. The next meeting, which will probably be next Thursday, that's the important one. That's the first actual budget meeting with public input and where they're given reports from the various departments. They're telling them how wonderful everything is in the county and how terrible everything is in the county. They can't make up their mind. And so in this particular case, they've agreed that they will not count money that they don't have, which seems to be a good idea, everybody.
Yeah, that's
So,
logical.
so when the sheriff says, at the moment, without SRS payments, without the forest payments, without this levy that's not going to pass, without all that stuff, I can't afford to do some things. And one of the things I can't do without SRS payments or any other thing is I can't keep the jail open. That's what they're talking about.
Hmm.
Okay. I think they're taking advantage of the confusion to say, look, this is what the sheriff says. No, he's saying it's already passed the Senate.
Yes, right. Now the stuff is coming in for the next 2 years. We have this funding coming in, and that's a done deal, pretty much.
But they're saying because we don't have the cash in our hand, that the jail will be closed in the plan.
Yeah.
Now, if that just happens to
right.
help pass the levy, woohoo.
That's funny because I thought they were being a little too emphatic about that at the weekly business session. They were talking about this idea that we don't plan for pie in the sky. We plan for reality. So they're only planning for the money that they know they're going to have. Well, right now, you do know you're going to have the SRS and timber payments. As a matter of fact, you already have the timber money. You're just waiting on the SRS stuff. So that idea is just goofy.
But what is going to help pass the levy? What's going to help pass the levy is to deny that the money is here. Something could happen. The Pony Express rider could have an accident with his horse, and really,
right.
Well, maybe some gullible people, not you in the audience. Maybe some no jail. I better vote for this levy.
Well, this is the problem that we have with this by any means necessary method of getting stuff done. It doesn't matter if we lie about the levy because, the levy is a noble endeavor and it's, in their minds. And so they're, so that justifies anything that they do or say. So now, there's a new strategy on the part of some to educate us who are talking about statistics on some new type of statistics that are very complicated and you have to take my word for it on the interpretation because this is far too difficult for your simple mind to understand. And this type of condescension, this type of manipulation, I have a big problem with this. We need to make a thorough accounting of their methods throughout this whole, political season that we're going through here, and reference it later when we're dealing with these same people that use these same tactics. And in other words, file it in their political history file. And,
absolutely, and don't let them forget it. I'm going to tell you
right.
something, viewers, about yourselves. As Cheryl Walker put it, if you watch this show, if you go to badcounty.com, just the fact that you go there is a tragedy. So take that into account about what Cheryl Walker says. What Keith Heck says about you is that nobody watches this. Nobody's paying any attention. Look how low their numbers are. We're moving in on 250,000 views now. Look how low their numbers are. And all this stuff is posted anonymously. That's what he says. And what Simon Hare says is that, well, you're not media of any kind. No way are you media. I will point out to you in our final little segment here, who is not media in this town? We wouldn't exist if there was a newspaper in Grants Pass. And here is the proof of that.
Dale Matthews, Grants Pass. So really good news from last night. The Central Committee of the Republican Party of Josephine County voted to oppose the levy. It was a pretty contentious meeting, and there's not a single word of it on KJO. And there's not a single word of it in the Daily Courier. Nothing. It happened last night. There was plenty of room, plenty of time to put it in the Daily Courier. Not there. Lots and lots of time to put it on KJO, because I mentioned it again this morning at the BCC meeting. No, it's not going to be there. What kind of community doesn't cover something important like this? If that vote had been in favor of the levy, we would have seen Roy Lindsay on the front page of the Courier above the fold smiling. But it's not there. Totally, absolutely, completely ignored. So who are these people that are making these decisions? That you don't need to hear this, that you're not interested in this subject. It's obviously the largest political party in our area, and it's the biggest thing on the ballot. But nobody's going to tell you about it. Why are they filtering this out? We mentioned it. We're going to be talking about it this evening. We were at that meeting. We have a daily show. It's non-commercial. We talk about issues of the day and the news. But you can't get the news from KJO? Really? You're not going to read about it in the Courier? There's not even going to be a picture? You've got baby animals and how important it is to be careful when you're feeding them yesterday, and nothing about this important vote. It was delayed from 2 weeks ago. There were a number of people who felt that they needed another chance to convince everybody in the Republican Party Central Committee that they really shouldn't go in this direction. And after the vote was taken, there were a number of people who were hopping mad that it passed and that the vote was taken at all. Oh, nobody understands. People just don't understand what this vote was about. Sure they do. Well, they were all confused. No, they weren't. They're pretty smart people. They understood what this vote was about and what they were saying. But nobody's going to hear that unless they're watching this show tonight or unless they come and watch our show on badcounty.com. That's the reason we started. It's because we don't have a newspaper in this town. So you can go to the newspaper, read about feeding baby animals or the famous dog licks ice cream cone story, but you're not going to hear the news. It's sad.
That is sad.
It is. Now, we're going to follow the news for you, and we're going to tell you what's happening, and then you decide whether or not you actually want to know what the news is. Okay?